Thanks for joining us again on the Unlearning Curve podcast. With us today is Carl the Great, Jordan, and me, Stuart Delony. We're all here to talk about things like mental health, deconstruction, faith, politics, whatever is really on our mind. And this is the last session, so we've been doing this for, 3 hours, 3.5 hours. So this is where the stuff gets crazy, because I think our minds begin to go, and it's beautiful in that way. We just went through a session of JD flashing us, so that was wonderful. It was a nice sight. It was lights. It was lights. He was a good boy. If you want to reach out to us, tell us that we're a bunch of weirdos, perverts, or idiots, or heretics. The Unlearning Curve podcast at gmail.com is the place to get in touch with us. And so for this session, it kind of came from an idea that I was curious about, that I've been coming to this conclusion a little bit more and more, is that we use the term God to explain the chaos in the universe. Oftentimes the things that we don't understand. And once we do that to a thing, it begins to warp that thing. Because then God, I think in many ways, becomes a catch-all to be able to to make sense of the world. This chaos that's happening, which is just chaos, because the universe has order and chaos. We like the order, we don't like the chaos, but if we can label it God, it makes us feel like we have control. But the moment we do that, it begins to warp the way we view reality and the world, and how much control we think we have. And all of that. And I know that we're as humans, we're pattern-making creatures. We need patterns, and we need story, and we need all of this because the chaos is scary to us. Yeah. Evolutionarily, it was the people that once they saw the rush, the grass rustling, and they knew that was a predator, and they would run. So the people that didn't respond to that, they died. So I know some of this is about trying to keep us alive, but I feel like when all mystery becomes thrown upon the term God, and then God somehow becomes doctrine, and then doctrine is community, and community becomes architecture that somehow has to be defended, I think we get to a place of being what the fuck are we actually doing anymore?
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So my question to start off, do you guys think that naming something helps us to understand it, or does naming something stop us from being able to understand it?
I have a complicated answer. It's I think it's twofold, because I think it depends on if you're, and this is something I kind of touched on, but definitely was thinking about in the last segment, is on a broad level, it would be, I think it would make it more difficult defining things, because there's no group understanding. I think on small levels where we can negotiate those understandings and have those semantical arguments, I think it's really good if you have that discussion to make sure we understand things on the same level. But I think that's one of the worst things about the internet, because I have students or other people that come and ask me for advice, and they're like, well, what is this? Someone said this on the internet. Does that mean they're a good or bad person? Essentially is what they're asking me. I'm like, I don't know. It's bereft of context. And I don't know what that person means by the terms they're using. Yeah. So until we can negotiate those meanings, I think it's dangerous, but I think that it has to happen, but it has to happen at a small, group level.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think, Carl?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say earlier. Yeah.
I concur.
So much is bypassing. I mean, not just in Christianity, but politics and so on. There's no easy answer, no ready-made explanations. That makes me uneasy, so I try to find a narrative that I can live with. Yeah. Right? And so people say this, and this is true, but then I say, well, what about the next point, that this, and that doesn't make sense with what you just said? Well, yeah, that's true, but I'm going to go with what I have. I'm going to go with, I don't believe that it's okay for Joe Biden to be a pervert, but I think it's okay for Donald Trump to be one. I mean, that's my narrative. I'm going with it because it fits with my other narratives that have to be true. It's, how many times do you have the conversation with Christians about certainty? My certainty is what gets me in trouble. Well, I like being certain. It gives me a sense of comfort. But like you said, there is order in a lot of things, but there's also chaos. And so our marriage is like that. We just celebrated 38 years of marriage, by the way, yesterday. And so excited about that, but you still got to accept the fact that, we're getting better at this and this and this, but why does this always go like that.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any sense, deeply committed to my spouse, and I want the best for it, but why does it go this way?
Mm-hmm.
And those kind of things are way harder to explain, and they may not have an easy explanation for. But we can't fall in love with comfort and ease and things I already agree to.
Mm-hmm.
Just think there's a certain amount of survival instinct in us that wants to take the path of least resistance so we survive. But many times the most important things are confusing.
Mm-hmm.
They're hard to explain. They're not easy to do, and so on. And so, in some ways, don't you think you got to embrace some of that chaos?
You have to.
Without excusing away behavior and things like that. But just to say, yeah, it's crazy. People are complicated. And I don't want to make excuses for people like that, but I want to at least understand it, that just because I have unconditional love for my wife, and because I believe this thing about God, and because I go to this kind of church, or I'm in this political party, then everything should be smooth and everything should go well all the time. Not true. It's order, like you said, order and chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And just to be able to say, just, I don't know.
Yeah.
One of the best things you can learn to say.
Yeah, because I think that once we try to, yes, because I feel like that when we say we have certainty, that makes, we have to take a tighter grip on information, or a tighter grip on like what we see in our reality, and I think it only leads us to really weird places, and really in places that are not honest. Like as you were describing, like searching for meaning too, Carl, in it, I was reminded. Do you guys remember? It was like after 9/11, after the towers had come down, like they found like, oh no, like some of the rebar looks like a cross, and all of this, like, oh my God, God was there. God was there. But then the same thing, I mean, why do we need that? Like sometimes it's just, this is a terrible tragedy, and it happened for a lot of different reasons.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It happened because America does a lot of bad things in other countries and pisses people off and becomes a target. But this doesn't, not every story can be redeemed. If a hurricane hits Haiti, it's not because of sin, but it's because of weather patterns or climate change, other things like that.
Again, kind of,
if your
like you were saying at the very beginning, Stuart, about how it's like evolutionary that we kind of like go along to get along in these cases, and like don't ask questions and like just find the spiritual meaning behind it that makes us feel good because we just keep going. But it's also like at this point in our evolution, as both humans and just as the species of humans, like it's actually antithetical to our continued evolution to continue to do the same bullshit that we did when we were living in caves. Like it makes more sense to like actually test things and like figure out, oh, what were the reasons that 9/11 happened? Because maybe we can actually make foreign policy decisions that ensure something like that doesn't happen again, instead of just making people take their fucking shoes off at the airport.
Yeah,
right. And attack another country that didn't have anything to do with it.
Yes. Because but it fit our narrative, and it was easy, and it was a way for us to be able to move on with our certainty in this. Yeah,
that's where it is. A way to bypass it and make everyone feel warm and cozy, and not. But again, the problem doesn't get fixed.
No. It just perpetuates it, and we just move on. It's almost like we're scapegoating reality in a certain sense.
Well, and that's actually tied to a lot of like issues with things like even OCD, where people will. It's reinforcement. You're reinforcing, like you're making yourself feel better by like not having to actually go through the difficult process of like dealing with it. So with that avoidance, you're giving yourself positive reinforcement of feeling better because you're not engaging with the problem. I guess you could just also describe it as negative reinforcement.
But yeah, now you're saying that because that's essentially that's what a worship service does too. You're able to go in and completely just disconnect from the outside world. Those problems don't matter because you've got magical sky god that'll fix them for you in an hour and a half. And I just want to feel good, and I want to feel like I have control over the universe because God is in control. So then, therefore, I have control.
Yep.
But also at the same time, I feel like that whole perspective probably is ripe for mental illness.
It also robs you completely of your agency to deal with any of that shit.
Yeah.
Which, talking specifically about mental illness, you do have a lot of agency, just like we have a lot of agency to love other people, like we were talking about before, or whatever it is. But yeah, that kind of infantilization of like believers or Christians or whatever church goers is like it's infantilization, and it doesn't create people that are able to solve problems on their own because they have no critical thinking skills, and everything is Sky Daddy's going to do it for me, or past his stand-in, the pastor.
So can you manage chaos? That's my question.
I think in certain ways. You can. I think some of it comes, like you had said, Carl, like going back to saying, I don't know, and being okay with that, and not trying to grab in it. Like this came from an article I don't have out yet, but I'm still noodling with. But it came from a thing when I was a river guide years ago, and we would do like multi-day trips, taking people down rivers on the West Coast, and we would go through, get everyone safely through some rapids, and if they were gnarly or interesting, and everyone was chilling at the bottom, I would just be like, I tell some of the other guys, I'm going to go run back up and I want to swim it, because I enjoyed being in. Maybe I'm just weird. But I loved being able to kind of let go and just see where the water would take me, because oftentimes when I've experienced nature, somehow like realizing that we have no power and there are greater forces that are out there, and all I can do is just kind of just be part of it or feel it or just kind of go through it. For me, was something that was like, it was a weirdly spiritual thing, because with things like that, I knew that like when people freak out and people can get stuck in rapids. They can get stuck and cycled around under them as well too. But it's usually because you're not relaxed, and you're not letting the water do what it's supposed to do. You're trying to control something you can't control. And it was a weird thing that I loved. And that's one of the things I think I connect with nature a lot of times, is just my smallness, the fact that I can't control things. And we look at things that are big, and I think it makes us terrified, and we want to make them small. But I think sometimes the bigness is also the grandness of it as well too. Mm-hmm. Like the ocean is beautiful and terrifying at the same time.
It's a pretty powerful illustration. I attached to it really quickly when I read it the first time.
Well, and that's what God is supposed to be like, right? This great and mighty and terrifying thing. But then we, shrink it down to something that's, you just pull it out of your pocket whenever you feel like it.
Manageable.
There's no the feeling isn't there. Unless when you're like up at night worrying about, I said something wrong and I'm going to go to hell or something.
I'm glad you attached it to mental health, because that's a lot of our struggles, right? Is we have a coping mechanism that attempts to manage it, but then the issue keeps reoccurring. And to some degree, when we accept the chaos without excusing the chaos, right? It's just, this is something we're going through. We got to learn from it. It may teach us something, and then instead of, I know what that is, right? If it's hard, it's the devil. It's pleasing, it's God. Whatever. If I succeed, it's God. If I fail, it's my fault, and it's the devil. How about we just, like you say, embrace that chaos and learn from it and flow with it sometimes. See, this is gonna teach me, and I'm gonna get better. And I don't know.
I think until you do that, you won't be able to know it.
Yeah.
But I think that's the whole point, is that you have to be able to know when things are when it is chaos, that you just have to embrace them and appreciate the beauty of however terrifying that might be. Mm-hmm. You have to go through those things and experience it before you can be able to have the wisdom to tell the difference. Oh, this is something I can control in some way. This is something, it's just out of my hands. Kind of goes back to the serenity prayer, as trite as that is.
You're going to mention that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I had something more poignant I wanted to say, but I guess we'll just end it there. I'll end my statement there.
Yeah, but you're getting to the point of just that. Yes, I think without experiencing something, then there's no way for us to be able to name it accurately, and to even know where I end and it begins as well too. Then it's just concepts, and I feel like the church has done a really good job in giving us concepts, abstract concepts to connect to, but it's not anything. When we talked about evolution of how we were, at the beginning, those certain beliefs or us being worried about the chaos, it kept us alive. It was purposeful, but then eventually it becomes some sort of an architecture. That eventually in church especially becomes more of a jail, because these are systems, these are architectures that we never had a hand in making, and they're very old, and they've been given to us, and there's been really little evolution of it. Besides, I feel like a lot of it's just become more capitalistic and disgusting. But I don't know. There's always been empire to take it, but I don't know. And I feel like at some point then we've completely lost the plot with the entire thing, because God is big, and we're trying to name it, and we're trying to experience it. But now we've got God figured out. God is small. God is containable. even though we say he's almighty and all this other stuff, but then we can just go about our days without having to worry about the void or without the scariness of nothingness that's out there.
I was thinking about that, my paranormal experience stuff that we were talking about earlier, and how, it was scary. Yeah, it was something I couldn't control.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was new. All those things, all that sounds like chaos, but only in going through it did I realize, first of all, it's not as scary as I thought. Number two, I still couldn't explain it all after it happened. Couldn't put it in a box. But I also can't just automatically say because it was chaotic, because it was different, because I didn't understand it fully, because I couldn't control it, doesn't mean it's evil, doesn't mean it's Satan, doesn't mean it's anything like that. It just means that it's complicated and it's got that chaos element to it like we're talking about. And I learned something. And I don't have to put it in a box and say, well, this explains it and it's good. And you should do it and you have to do it, which is my nature. But it's so much about that vivid picture you had when you were writing about that of, if I try to control this, if I try to dominate it, I'm going to drown. Mm-hmm. It's pretty serious, right? When you're going through that, you're going to go under if you keep fighting that. And anyway.
No, but you're talking. I love, but what you said too, Carl. With your paranormal experience, you were in a location with other people, so this is communal. You're actually out of your normal comfort zone areas, and I'm going to guess you were experiencing a lot of things with your senses. This wasn't simply just intellectual. You were experiencing stuff based upon who else is around you, what you were feeling in the room, and it's something that's very different than just passing information for people to understand and continue to pass on, like the telephone game, which is what a lot of religion has become. But you were there, and you spent time. It was all of that. You probably felt heat or cool, but it was something where you were very much engaged in being a human and being able to experience something that you still didn't have the language or ability or understanding to be able to start defining what the edges of it were also. Because when we start defining edges of things that are amorphous or larger than us, then we've just, again, put it in a box and we've just made it small, and it's not what it was supposed to be.
Just make sure we don't say, oh, well, God's ways are not our ways, and go down that track. Because that is a different way of controlling it.
Yeah.
It's to say everything that I don't understand is not understandable.
Mm-hmm.
It's still putting it in a box. It's just like, the box is infinity, but it's a theoretical box. So it's just it's just the same fucking tiny box that Stuart was just talking about.
Or the box is a garbage chute that you can keep dumping and you just keep throwing stuff into the void just endlessly, and because it keeps us happy.
The magician's hat, it just keeps going. But
God's ways are not our way, box.
It doesn't matter. The point is they're both all of those things that we're talking about are like thought terminating cliches. They're just ways to get people to shut up and follow along. And like Stuart, when you were talking about how we have this kind of archaic system that we keep doing, for some reason I had the mental picture of just people running on treadmills, but it's just like, it's kind of what we are. We're just really spinning our feet. But I mean, the reason for it is, like you were saying, building up these institutions and making money and things like that. But
no, yeah, because Carl, like that your statement too, because that's a statement that originated from a person that was trying to control the system. God's ways aren't our ways, and then it's just been repeated that now the layman uses it as well too. It's like a get out of like thinking too deeply from reality free card type of a thing.
Yeah.
And so, but then it's easy for us to talk about then mystery in this way, but how do we discuss mystery in a way that doesn't turn it into another system? Because it's easy for us to critique. It's another thing for us to try to prevent the systems that we've been a part of.
I think it's like when you're talking about stuff, it's like you just don't be too sure about stuff. It's part of it. Just talk generally about stuff. The other thing I was thinking about, sorry, this just came back into my brain, but like the question was asked about like, can you try to manage the chaos? I don't know. Like Stuart, I think you have a pretty good answer for that, which is like kind of not really, especially in certain circumstances. Mm-hmm. But the thing I was going to say is I think you can prepare for it. And part of that is the experience that we were talking about, was just going through it, understanding it more. But I think also, just like with, we kind of touched on mental health as well, is like, if you know the issues are there, or if you have some experience with this thing before, like similar experiences, whatever, this kind of chaotic experience, you can mentally prepare yourself for it. You can do things, or physically, because sometimes the chaos is physical, like in your case, Stuart. But anyway, sorry, that's just where my brain went for a second.
No, but it made me think too of the idea that, I mean, us being able to say that we don't know things, like I feel like that's also from a standpoint of humility.
Yeah.
And I also think the idea of humility then allows us to be open and to learn things as well too, because we don't know everything. So if we're certain about things, it also says, I believe we're incapable of learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
In
you've
many
got
ways.
answers.
I mean,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Which I would just think that then would then make us less human somehow. Like if because if we're not experiencing things new, if we're not kind of constantly being curious and all of that, because going to church weekend after week, like the treadmill, like you said, JD, it's just we're repeating systems and it's predictable and we know it. We know these rhythms. We know that it's going to be we've got Christmas coming up. We've got Easter this time. These are all predictive cycles, and it makes us feel comfortable. But it never challenges us to grow, to be humble, to be curious, to keep moving.
And again,
I think,
So like I said, and you kind of were talking about earlier, it's like evolutionarily deadly to us to not look for those new pathways forward.
Yeah. Which fits for people that don't believe in evolution. I shall not evolve.
The Darwin Award goes to the church.
So I was talking about we've been married for 38 years, but kind of three things happened last week. Laura's trying to get hearing aids. We had a setback in that area. I don't want to just talk about that, but our AC went out and the guy was here all day. So that means money. But also then yesterday we found out Winston has leukemia.
Winston is a dog too. Yeah, the dog.
Yeah, Winston the Wonder Dog.
The Wonder Dog.
So the automatic thing is to try to put meaning behind that. Mm-hmm. Why is this happening to us? Why all the things at once? We don't need this, And I should be joyful and happy and somehow okay. And just yesterday we both had to cry. Right? Not about the air conditioner so much. The air conditioner is kind of a given that every year you're going to spend $500 to $1,000 on it. I mean, and anything medical is a challenge in the United States. So
yeah,
can kind of understand that. But when your buddy is facing this, and he can't. I think dogs don't even want to act like they're hurting or sick or. They want to, give off the impression they're okay, so other animals don't eat them, I think. But he, it's real special to me, But all that shit is chaos, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Because, God, I did the preliminary thing for the air conditioner this year. It's supposed to be all cool now. Now I'm going to have another big bill.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So... God must be unhappy with me. That's just how we developed religion in the first place. Is I need a way to explain all this that makes sense to me, instead of just it's part of the deal. There's chaos and order, right? Like you said. So not excusing it, not saying this is not a big deal that my dog may die, not dismissing that or putting God stuff on it or anything like that. It's just going through it.
And it sucks.
I'm sad.
Yeah.
It
sucks.
Yeah. I'm going to cry. And that's the best thing I could do.
Yeah.
Probably just said I'm going to miss him.
It's the most human thing to do, because otherwise, I mean, that's just repression. Be joyful in all things. Fuck that. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you can flip that back to, there's a season for everything. We want to have the Bible arguing with itself.
Not all
Because
joy is dead, in my opinion. I don't believe that's not a good philosophy at all. Mm-hmm. Anyway,
and I think it's difficult because even thinking of things like Winston, it makes us think of our own mortality as well, which makes us more uncomfortable, and the fact that we can't control those things also, and it just becomes super scary. I have a terrible anecdote story, but it's really fun. I remember it was when I was working for a church, and it was the church secretary, an older lady, really, really sweet, super, but like very Baptist, very much just like you're saying, be joyful in all things, all these things. And Thanksgiving dinner, her brother dies, face in the plate, just at the dinner table. And because I knew her son really well too, and all she could do was say, "God is good, God is good, God is good, God is good." It was this weird, it was like this mantra that somehow this broke her reality, but she just had to do this, and then she was kind of fine and went on. But mental health wise, I was like, you just, there's a rift there. You have just shoved a lot of stuff down there, which tells me there's a lot of other stuff that is down there. Yeah. And you are not giving yourself space to mourn, to feel, to cry. Even if God is good, it's still, this sucks. It's not fun.
Right.
Yeah.
And life is hard, and life sucks a lot of times. And there isn't meaning to it. And there's not always going to be meaning to things. There's really not. And I think we want that to happen, but sometimes just bad shit happens, and there's nothing you could have done to avoid it.
Yeah. And experiencing it or going through it doesn't mean that we agree that we wanted it to happen or that or that it's not going to be hard or anything like that, but it's just experiencing it because it is, and that's, again, that's being present, it's being authentic, and all those things instead of, it makes me so uncomfortable now with the deconstruction I went through. It makes me so uncomfortable when people go, oh, well, it's okay, God is good, and it just makes me feel really, really uncomfortable now when people do that, because I'm like, what you're doing is destructive. It's not helpful, and I'm losing my voice, so I'll quit talking.
But no, it's kind of like, it's going from that mentality of like, God is I am that I am, but I think it's, which is also weird. Okay, but then if you think about it, it's but I think the mantra in a certain sense that we can have is sometimes it is what it is.
It is,
yeah.
And there's nothing else to do it. I know that blanket doesn't go everywhere, but I think sometimes stuff happens that we don't know. I mean, a comet, or we could have an asteroid that could hit the Earth. Did God mean it? Did anything happen? Did we do anything to cause it? No, it just happened because there's a rock in space and it's moving because something else happened to push it that way.
Gravity.
And we don't understand why, but it is. I don't know.
Sometimes the thing to focus on is not why it happened, especially not right immediately after it happened, but what the fuck can we do to fix the problems that it caused, to deal with the aftermath of the shit that just happened, make sure everyone's okay. Then maybe we can assess why it happened, if at all. Because again, sometimes it just happened. Like there's no why. But I think if we focus more on how to make sure people aren't dealing with trauma coming out of it, all that kind of stuff, I think it's more useful of our time.
I used to say that at every funeral. Why is an endless loop? We want to ask why. We want to ask how, what, why, when, all those questions. But why can get us into a loop because there's no answer. There's not an answer. And like JD said, he must have been listening to my funeral text. Cause,
I've listened to a couple. So
yeah. Wait, what can we do? What will be helpful?
But wouldn't that bring us to a closer level of honesty and community with each other?
We don't want that.
I know, but being able to be like, this sucks, I don't understand this, and being able to sit there with somebody else in that unknowing.
Yeah, that makes I don't understand. You fucking cuck, Stuart. God damn it.
That's hard, Stuart.
I don't understand. I have emotions.
I know. It's silly humans.
No, but of course it would. But again, it's uncomfortable. We don't like being uncomfortable. I feel like I'm in the fucking witness protection right now. Sorry, my light died. So
yeah.
No, I will make sure that we'll like make your face pixelated, and I'll have like a voice changer in your voice. Yeah. No, I'm gonna do the voice changer so you only just sound like RFK Jr.
I have one more thing to say.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. Having him in a witness relocation thing.
Really great point.
But it'd be like they have him like, I can imagine like in a situation where he's like trying to be a whistleblower or say something, and he's all blacked out, but you're like, wait, I know who that guy is. Wait, that's not.
Yeah, he'd have to change his voice to normal.
Yeah.
You just have to have someone dub him. There's no way.
His voice would be.
You can't.
Oh my goodness.
It's impossible.
So yeah, I don't know. I think the ultimate answer to all of this is just that I think when we bypass any of these things, what we end up doing is we do it at the expense of reality. And I think if we're in a situation where we're fighting reality, we're always going to lose, one way or the other. We're always going to lose when we're fighting reality. It's undefeated.
I feel like if you oversimplify like the chaos and don't learn from that, then there's no way that you're going to even be able to thrive in the order.
Yeah. True. Very good. Yes.
JD says thought terminating cliches a lot. What I like is
that phrase.
blowing up stupid arguments with a question, right? So homosexuals is wrong because of Sodom and Gomorrah. Yeah, what about the My question is, what about the angels that wanted to rape the humans afterwards? Or before? Was it before or afterwards? Or
Yeah. It was. Wait, I'm sorry. I think it'd be before, but you're right. Like, yeah. Those dang horny angels in Genesis.
And the man of God pimping his daughters out, even.
Yeah.
What the hell? But I just
God works in mysterious ways.
People are really certain, and they have this theological idea, and I'm like, but what about this? Like when they turn their head like a dog like this and go, yeah, that's a question too, right? I'm sorry that gives me pleasure. I'm sure that's of the devil.
No, it's just called a kink.
I think though that there is something to that. Sorry, I'm trying to give myself a little bit of light so this is less weird. But I was gonna say that earlier. Huh?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We should like one of the ways I get we were talking about like kind of dealing with difficult people earlier in an earlier segment, but I think that's one way I get around it is just ask them like complicated questions about like what they believe.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good way to trip people up because then it usually ends in those things. So, well, that's God, or like that's what the Bible says. It's like, well, what does that mean? Can you translate Greek for me? Aramaic, maybe. That's what I usually do. I'm like, how does that translate from the Greek? I'm not sure. I think I heard my dad taught a sermon on that, but I forgot. Do you know? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, maybe look into that because I think it's probably a little bit different.
Laura's writing down one thought.
Like this.
I don't know if she wants me to explain.
No, it's good. I like this. Last thoughts.
It's going to be fiery.
I just said, have fun teaching that shit in school, Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to be a student in the classroom when they're reading about, raping daughters and things like that, and I'd love to see them score.
They're going to cherry pick. They're going to cherry pick so hard. Yeah,
they're going to read John 3:16, and they'll probably do the Romans Road or some bullshit. They're not going to tackle any of. But the thing is we were talking about this before you got here, Mom, off podcast. But
while I was still sleeping,
it's gonna be fun. People are gonna be like, the kids are gonna like draw on the books. They're gonna do what we did with the dictionaries is find all the swear words.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be great. And the kids have the internet now. Like they're just gonna instantly Google. ChatGPT was the most offensive shit in the Bible.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think they fully know what they're getting into. Especially turning this into a class as well.
Yeah.
But it's going to be something. It's also going to be what's like probably PragerU type curriculum or some shit like that. From so they'll have it fairly locked in pretty well, like from an apologetics version, to where it's all thought terminating cliches is really what they're going to be teaching.
Definitely.
Yeah. It sounds like what they're trying to do is validate whatchamacallums, the Heritage Foundation's thing. This is a Christian nation. We just want to teach this. If they get to tell our kids that it's okay to be gay, then we get to talk about how America was a Christian nation. We need to show the Bible verses. Well, what kind of context do you put that in, and how do you just teach that? And I mean, when I was in school, even if I was a Christian, I was, right? I'm not going to do anything but disrupt that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and especially if they're saying stupid stuff, that's my chance to speak up, because it's not in church, it's not the pastor that's going to condemn me to hell, it's a teacher, right? How would that go over in your classes, JD? Not to get off on a totally different subject.
I mean, I would never try to indoctrinate my students, at least not with anything except for a little marks. Just kidding. But it wouldn't go over. I don't know, with my classes, if I tried to, I mean, some kids, again, with everything, like in church, they would accept it. They'd be like, okay, that's the answer to the question, so that's good. But they wouldn't internalize it. They wouldn't actually believe it.
No.
Huh?
Yeah. Is that on the test? That's the only
exactly.
question.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the kids who are like more critical thinkers, no, they would push back. They'd be like, why? And then if I was of that mindset where I just am regurgitating the Bible to these kids, or I'm a teacher that's forced to do it, I'm either going to agree with the kids and be like, yeah, this is kind of bullshit, but we got to do it for the fucking test, or we're I'm going to get in an argument, but I'm not going to know anything. Because again, most Christians don't know shit about the Bible.
Yeah.
Like I have a student right now, or a former student that's in the U.S. right now, and they have to take a Bible class because they're in a private school, and they'll sometimes message me and be like, "Oh, I got in this argument," because they're Buddhist, Taoist, whatever. Like they're a-religious basically, but their parents are Taoist Buddhist. They grew up in Taiwan, so they're like, I've never read the fucking Bible. I mean, I know Jesus loves me because they say that here too. They say Yesu aini, the I Yesuma, which means Jesus loves you. Do you love Jesus? And I always say, sure, why not? He seems cool. But anyway, sorry, she'll get in like arguments because she has Bible class, and so they'll like message me, and I'll just be like, oh, this is like such a simple point. And I was like, bring it up. And then the person will bring it up in their class to be like, oh, it killed. Like they had no idea. I was like, this is basic shit, guys. Come on. I don't know. But that's I think people won't. I wouldn't be able to long-windedly answer your question, Dad. I wouldn't be able to put up with it. Or I'd have to agree with the students, I think. But it wouldn't go well.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's going to get messy, and there's going to be a lot of waste of time because you're going to have some teachers that are going to try to like begin to share their stories and their beliefs and all sorts of other stuff, which is going to get you into weird territory in these classes and a bunch of other stuff.
Cardiac therapist.
Yes,
my faith is, but whatever.
But it's also different than that, even because a teacher-student relationship is different than a client relationship, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like my kids would, especially naughtier kids. Like if I was in school, I would test the fuck out of that teacher. Which is why I have so many shithead kids, because I was an asshole too. So, but the point being is that kids are going to go after their teachers if they're like, I got saved. They're going to be like, whoa! I'm like, why'd you have to repent? Fucking too many guys in high school, Mrs. Tanner. Like it's going to be bad. Like it's not going to be good.
Which is also amazing because it's going back to missing the entire like point of any of this is why are kids in school to begin with? For us to indoctrinate them, or is it about education? Are we trying to get them to learn something, or are we trying to turn in again, it's forcing the Bible to do things it wasn't meant to do.
Yeah, they have Sunday school and they can read it at home if they want to. But why do you have to do it in school? Is it just because they're telling your kids about gays and trans? Well, teach them the other side and teach them to think for themselves. And
this would have made more sense indoctrination-wise if they did this like in the 70s or 80s. With the internet now, it's not going to take anything. There's too many other opinions out there, and there's just going to be seen as
Teachers are going to get barbecued like JD was talking about, and they're just going to refuse to do it. They're going to. But I don't even see how they're going to get past which version do we use.
No, it's going to be chaos. I think a lot of the teachers, honestly, are going to be like, it doesn't matter. Like, you'll get some crazy people, and like, I guess it's like you'll probably get a little bit more. But I think most of them are going to realize, like, this is stupid. Like, why are we doing this? Turn it into like a religion lesson and share more religions.
Big question is, why do you need us to teach your kids the Bible?
Yeah.
Can't you do that?
Yeah.
Isn't that why you guys have Sundays?
Sunday school.
Yeah.
No, but it's because everyone wants to have their fucking cake and eat it. Because, like, this, you're going to get me excited as a teacher, and I hope this is cathartic for Mom.
No, I was going to say, you need to save some of this for, like, when we do our podcast, because, go, I want to hear it.
You're gonna make us teach all this shit. You, a bunch of people, not you, the royal you. I love everyone on this podcast is lovely. You're gonna make us teach some bullshit. You, as a not expert, are gonna change my curriculum. I can't talk. I'm falling asleep. You're gonna change my curriculum, and then you're also gonna tell me how to teach my curriculum. Like, it's not gonna happen. Like, teachers aren't gonna go for that. There will be teachers that will. Most people aren't. I have had things like this happen where they'll put stuff in the curriculum and I'm like, this is bullshit. This is not good science, or this is not accurate, or whatever. And I'll straight up tell the kids, like, this is what the book teaches. Probably got to know that for the test. This is what I've seen from my evidence. And then you guys can, again, make your own decision. But here's the different pieces of evidence. I think most teachers are going to do that, or they're just going to yada, yada, yada the whole thing. But holy shit, don't fucking tell me how to teach my class. Unless you have classroom experience and you, like, have worked on curriculum and things like that. Otherwise, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Wasn't it reading, writing, and arithmetic? Wasn't that what we were supposed to be doing?
The
Right?
three R's, and one of those doesn't even start with an R. So it's
I know.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And that was, I
No wonder we're
suppose, that was
fucked up.
religious people saying that. Well, we get back to reading, writing, and arithmetic instead of all these gay things like Spanish. We don't need Spanish. It's not our language, not
It's
English.
just a way for people to get excited. Did you? I don't know if you saw this, but I had an exchange with someone I used to go to school with about the Bad Bunny Super Bowl thing. They were going off. This is old. This is so like anachronistic, like archaic now, like so old. But anyway, it was like a couple months ago, and they were like, "So fucking pissed off. Why would they put this person?" I was like, "What's so bad about it?" And he just goes off on this thing, and I was like, he kind of insinuated like, why did you like it or something? I was like, I didn't watch it. I don't care. I was like, I don't like Bad Bunny's music. Like, it's not my thing. But like, what's the deal, dude? And then it went down for a long time. I just kept asking him questions. I was like, well, why are you so pissed off, dude? Like, he's like, well, I don't speak Spanish, and a lot of people don't. And I was like, well, a lot of people don't speak English, and but it's supposed to, we're trying to grow this into a worldwide thing, right? Football, America. Let's spread the fucking neocolonialism. Like, shouldn't we? A lot of fucking people speak Spanish. If you haven't realized, maybe we should try that. So anyway, I have this long conversation, and eventually he's just like, well, yeah, I guess that's whatever. And it just kind of ended like that. I was like, what? Just people get so pissed off. You have to have a fucking opinion. Anyway, I don't know how I got on that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, but speaking of Texas,
up with the curriculum questions.
No, but this is what I love most about the Texas thing right now, and we can double check this. But I was doing this. Texas ranks anyone 41st nationally.
No, I think Missouri
41st. So let's one thing we need to do to bump our educational system up is to add Bible classes.
Yeah.
That's what's going to do it. That's going to help our kids become more educated.
Else. Yeah, stop teaching something else.
But it's getting obsessed with things that have nothing to do with education.
Don't look too deep into those statistics, because when you'll find out all of the most like Christian Baptist states, they all score pretty much the lowest in the country.
Yes, I know. I'm in the South. Yeah.
Yeah, we're one of those. We're one of those. Missouri's bad, underfunded.
Mississippi, Louisiana, all of
Arkansas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Texas has actually improved a little, but they've always been pretty horrible.
But that's actually no. Okay, never mind. I'm wrong. The reason they're 41st is because of illegal immigration. I believe that's pretty much it.
Probably.
Yeah. So now the borders close, it's going to go. It's going to skyrocket. You watch it.
Yeah.
They may be 40th next year.
Especially since we take some of our time now to teach the Bible, just parts of it.
But it's relating back to everything that we've been talking about. It's kind of like between certainty and chaos and all this other kind of stuff. What the fuck are they even trying to do? Because it's like this isn't even about education. It's indoctrination, and it's not going to do anything. It's not going to do anything, and it's just a flex they feel like they have. But I think it's only going to hurt everything. But let them do it. Let them do it. We can get mad about it, but let's do it. Try it. Have fun with this. It's not going to go well.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be more fun than
is.
anything.
But don't we learn from fuck around and find out? And that's kind of where they're at. That is one way for people to learn.
Actually, which is their problem.
That's fuck around, find out, and then blame somebody else.
And then keep fuck around, can't get fooled again, or whatever George Bush said. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm kind of excited about it. I feel bad about feeling excited about it, but I do feel a little bit excited about it. But I think that's kind of the thing now. That's kind of the whole like right wing conservative Christian mantra is the flood the zone strategy. It's just hide the ball all the time. Okay, well, everyone's pissed off about abortion and the fact that like a lot of people in our government may have been on Epstein's they're on the flight log. Yeah. So it's bad. So transgender. Okay, people are kind of it's just move around. Just keep going.
Invade Iran.
Yeah.
Yeah. Invade Iran. Kidnap the dictator of Venezuela.
Yeah.
It checks out.
Whatever. But again, it's just hide the ball. I think.
I can't believe we didn't talk about.
I think part of it is
stop
paying attention. See, this is the thing. I want him to. We need to all start giving him likes about the ballroom and the reflecting pool. We all need to get a message on this. Stop critiquing him about it. Be like, oh my God! If everyone was just like, oh Donald, like you We disagree on a lot of stuff, Donald. Don't get me wrong. We're reaching across the aisle here. But the reflecting pool, the ballroom, sick. Focus on that all the time. Iran, not so much. Not my favorite. But
tell me more about the columns and marble.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just let him redo DC. DC is a fucking swamp anyway. Who gives a shit? Just remodel the whole thing. Be fabulous, Donald. Like, let him do that shit. But he needs to forget about the rest of everything else because that stuff's bad. He's really fucking that up. But I don't care. Decorate, girl. Go do your shit.
Yeah. Have him focus on a sport now that he's into interfering in sports. Let's find a sport that.
Here's the thing. Even with FIFA is super corrupt. Yeah. One of the most corrupt institutions in the world. I feel my video keeps dying. Anyway, I don't even care about that. Let him go. Sports. I mean, it's bad, but like I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, screwing up the world. Yeah, it's very different than like bombing schools in Iran than messing with the World Cup because it does suck. But at the same time, you're like, okay, nobody died.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's bad, and it's a violation of human rights because like sport is involved in human rights, but it's less impactful to me than like aiding and abetting genocides and things like that.
Maybe he could fix his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I think people are shitting on it every night and poking holes in it and putting stickers on it. And
I'd be okay if we come to focus on that.
Yeah. Anything else?
Like have him go re-bedazzle it every night or something.
Yeah, something like that. Sure, he'd send Rubio.
Rubio does like 90% of the other jobs in the executive branch now, so it makes sense.
Right. Send him down there with his big shoes and everything else.